zone. Just so that you guys know, we're gonna be using this article right here to as a reference, like a guide to kind of
start us up and get us through the main points.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be like a guide so that you guys can understand what the games as a service model is. So, just in the simplest words, as this article describes it, games as a service is a business model that allows game developers to monetize video games after release in the long run. It's achieved by the games being updated frequently with new experiences and offered to the players on a subscription basis or in the form of in-game purchases. So basically, that's what you tend to see now most days, is that whenever you get a game, they get updated over time with patches and stuff like that. They offer DLCs, expansions, that sort of thing. So that's what games as a service is. To kind of have in contrast, you could consider how back in the day, let's say for an old video game like Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, if they wanted to make a patch, they had to re-release a whole nother cartridge, and all the old ones didn't get updated. So the only updates that they would get is afterwards. And then you kind of see examples of this in like loot boxes, season passes, DLC, like different maps and all that. So that's basically what games as a service is. And today we're just going to basically be talking about, what are the effects it's had on the gaming industry. And then me and Jordan are going to be sharing our opinions with you as to whether we think it's actually a good thing or a bad thing. So, Jordan, why don't you give us, your thoughts on it? I don't know how you would like to begin with this.
To start off, it's like, I'm going to start off, I guess, with my own opinion so we can start getting into, the more debatey part of the conversation. Basically, I find, that games service is actually like a beneficial thing universally. Like, it allows developers to fix a lot of the problems that they normally would have with release. And it also means that, when we like a certain game, we get more of that game. So, if you like your Fortnite, well, you're going to get more of your Fortnite. If you like Assassin's Creed, well, you're going to get more of your Assassin's Creed. And that's really what we want to focus on here. It's like how much more beneficial it is for the player in that regard. I know that it is a monetized, system to provide us, with more ways for us to spend money on the games, but at the same time, you also have to consider, it's how the developers make the money, and it's up to them to give us, good quality content that's worth the price that we're paying. And that comes in with the differences between buying a map pack in Call of Duty versus a full-on expansion in Destiny, or buying a full-on World of Warcraft expansion and paying a monthly subscription. There's different ways we can go about it, because there's a lot of different games that follow the same model. But overall, it obviously provides a better opportunity for players to play the games they like, and also for them to, for the developers to provide a better system for them to upgrade and develop the games as they go on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So, personally, just so you guys understand where I'm kind of coming from, like, me and Jordan tend to have pretty moderate views on things, I believe. Like, we tend to see the good and bad things, or the good and bad in a lot of things. But I'm of the opinion that games as a service is generally kind of a bad thing, or it's leaning more towards being abused rather than being something that's positive. Simply because, the fact that the internet and stuff has allowed us to have an infrastructure for video games where you're allowed to like update and patch things as you go along. I think that's a good thing, because if you release a game that's very buggy, it lets you fix it as you go along. But I'm actually I'm not against that so much. I'm more against the actual games as a service model. It's been more damaging than good. I think people are kind of abusing it. You need to sit upright.
Okay. I'm trying my best.
Yeah, no, maintain it. It's good. It's good for you anyways.
Good
posture.
If I could sit forward and have the chair. There you go. A little bit more. Have the chair.
Good posture is only gonna help. I want Jordan to go ahead and take the reins on this one here, because I think he's a little bit more of a seasoned player with games as a service. I'm gonna be honest. I tend to not play as many of them because I think they're kind of bad, to be honest. But again, difference of opinions. Jordan, why don't you take it away?
All right, so one of the things that we want to look at is about what these games are technically about. So, you're gonna find that like Destiny, Division, Anthem, and even Marvel's Avengers, sadly, and Genshin Impact in the lowest possible form, they're all like games that are about being social. They're about like playing with friends, meeting people, and then you guys make up the stories as you go. It's like playing the multiplayer portion of a Call of Duty game with your friend and making your own stories, but like along the entire game. You know, you don't get the full single player experience as you would. So that's probably one of the things or reasons why Michael might not, you know, hit off with those type of games as much. But going off on the games as a service thing, which is what we're talking about, the model, it came from a corporate version of trying to monetize, you know, the streaming of content to make it not only easier to make, but also to, you know, make it cheaper, while consistently trying to get players to make more and more purchases within the game world. So you're gonna notice that even at the early times when we're talking about like Destiny and all these games that came out, you know, when the first time anyone ever heard about games as service, you know, we're gonna see games where we see, you know, how do I put it correctly? We're gonna see expansions, map packs, and then the evolution of, oh, cosmetics is gonna be the main thing now. Like you're paying for cosmetics, and then eventually we're gonna see, oh yeah, everything's free, but like cosmetics are gonna cost like 3 times as much. They're gonna cost the full amount of an expansion.
But let's slow down there, because you're saying a couple of interesting things that I think I have a few fundamental disagreements with. So you were mentioning that I think what you were trying to say was something along the lines that games as a service basically are enabling developers to give additional content or to basically make games cheaper while also maximizing the amount of money that the game produces. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so we're gonna see also, like, I can draw on examples. Like, for example, one of the biggest things that I like about games as a service versus, you know, the more traditional production of gaming is that when you get a sequel for a games as a service type game or a game that's constantly updated, it's usually a full sequel game. It's not just like an updated mechanic here and there, maybe like a sparklier version of like the graphics engine, and then it's technically the same game with a different level. You know, we see that in the past with old games like Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy versus Jedi Knight, you know, Jedi Outcast. Was it Jedi Outcast or was it just Jedi?
Well, the first one that was exactly that, I think used the same engine and everything as Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, was Jedi Outcast.
Yeah. So it's like what they did for Jedi Knight is that they improved the graphics a bit and they added a couple more mechanics, but it was essentially the same game with a new level design and a different story script. You know, basically changing a little bit of what it was to kind of make it feel like a sequel, but in reality, it could be technically an expansion that's just slightly larger to be a full-size game, which is what we see when we see Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which is basically a sequel to Assassin's Creed 2, but it's basically an expansion. Like it feels like an expansion. You're just going to Rome, you know, and it's just a one city, but it's expanded to a full game. So you're paying $60 for an expansion. You know,
I'm gonna have to jump in on that one. I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. The biggest reason why I'm disagreeing with what you're saying here is because I think, okay, so like let's say if I was to draw out an example, right? You're kind of saying like when you mention cheaper content, I guess you're almost trying to say that it holds the same weight as a new game, like, right? Because you're comparing Assassin's Creed 2, which is a full game, to an expansion, like something you would see in Destiny, right?
Right.
How much does a Destiny expansion go through for? Like what?
$40.
$40?
Yeah, it's usually 20% less than a full. Or 30%.
So between Assassin's Creed 1, for example, right, and Assassin's Creed 2, you actually saw a massive jump, a massive change in quality for many different reasons. For example, the audio engineering was better, graphics improved as well, whole new map, a whole new narrative, by the way, and it was a long story mode. I don't know, I don't have it off the top of my head how many hours it was, but I think it was longer than Assassin's Creed 1, and I'm pretty sure it's longer than any story that would come with an expansion nowadays. So, you know, to be fair, I think you could get away with justifying a $60 price tag on Assassin's Creed 2, but I personally don't feel that Destiny, let's say this last expansion came out, what was it?
Beyond Light.
Beyond Light, I don't feel comfortable paying $40 with Destiny 2 Beyond Light. Or maybe I would pay it, but I don't see it as like the best value for myself, because that's pretty much like darn near having like the price tag for a full game, you know what I'm saying? And you know, you can argue whether you think it's a good value or not, but to say that it's basic, or that Assassin's Creed 2 is comparable to to Destiny, where you beat the narrative part of Beyond Light. Over here at my house, you beat it like what, within 2-3 hours? I think
it was 5 hours.
Oh, in 5 hours, I don't think that's appropriate. Obviously, you have additional content like perhaps the raid, multiplayer, things of that nature. But those things came with full games back then too, and it came with additional things as well, like a fully fleshed out new narrative, new characters, perhaps different game modes depending. And it was all that for an additional $20. Whereas someone like me who didn't really enjoy the foundation of Destiny 2, I have a hard time paying an additional $40 for continuing to play on a foundation that I don't even find to be okay to begin with. So yeah, that's kind of where I land on the value aspect of it. I don't know if you want to add to that or not.
That's the thing. I mean, I was just using Assassin's Creed as an example in the sense of like you made the point right there, which is what I was trying to say. From Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed 2, they took a 2-year development plan to change the game and update it and make it something different. But then they annualized it from Assassin's Creed 2 to Brotherhood. Then I believe it was Revelations. And throughout that year, like each year, the game was essentially the same thing. It's just a different map with a couple different mechanics and almost the same graphics. I mean, obviously Revelations looked a lot better than Brotherhood did, but they were essentially the same game from 2 to Revelations. It was all 3 games. It was considered like the Ezio trilogy, but it's all essentially the same thing with a couple of different mechanics here and there. And then the comparison with Destiny is a bit harsh too, because like I said, Destiny's more, or what I've mentioned to you before, which I'll mention to now, Destiny's more comparable to a Call of Duty experience than it is to Assassin's Creed experience. Despite the fact that it has an open world hub type of deal, you're gonna see that
you have to be at the center. That's why.
Yeah, you're gonna see centered. That I'm moving around. I'm getting like impassioned, I guess. You're gonna see that the 5-hour experience that you would get
back on this thing, I guess, on the battery. You put it on the battery so that way the desktop corner doesn't show. Put the battery on there and then just tilt it down. Oh no, I think that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah. Stay in the middle though. Make sure you stay in the middle, because if not, the focus will go out of whack.
So when we compare, the best way to compare it is to Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty, the biggest complaint I remember from when we were growing up is like after Modern Warfare 2, it basically felt like everything was a copy paste. You had your people that like Black Ops, you had your people that like Modern Warfare, and it was the ongoing battle whether Modern Warfare was better or not, whether Infinity War is the best or Treyarch. Eventually, Treyarch became the better company for a while. But the thing goes on again. It's like every year you felt like you're paying $60 for the exact same game to use slightly different, differently designed guns that all shoot pretty much the same. And then you'd either get zombies this year or you won't get zombies this year. And that was like the biggest issue. So Destiny would be more comparable to that type of experience where you're getting a 5-hour, campaign experience, and then you get the after modes. The after endgame modes, which in Destiny you have a full, more or less fleshed out like open world. You get little experiences, extra co-op missions that you would kind of like the co-op mode in Call of Duty. And then you have the Crucible, which is like the PvP, the team deathmatch, and all those game modes. Not all of them, but most. And then finally you have like the raids and all the extra content that you wouldn't normally see in a Call of Duty. So, but the thing that I'm trying to say is like they're both annualized. It's just that one you pay $40 and one you pay $60. See what I'm saying?
Well, yeah.